has done it! An important moment on an important day, and Kane wins it, and Tottenham lead. Aubameyang! Oh, brilliant! He took it first time, and with devastating effect. Oh, Salah. Can he finish things off here? He can. It is 2-0.
And good morning to you all. Welcome back to Sideline Talk podcast. Hope you've had a very good week. We're just going to be catching up on Premier League action, the latest topics such as Newcastle takeover, and then we'll briefly give our nominations, the top three for Ballon d'Or at the end of the discussion. Anyway, I'm joined by Lee, Miller, and Chris. I'll go to you, Lee, first. How's things? You all right?
Not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, all good. Saturday feeling, I guess. Bit tired like us all, but yeah, going good. How are we, Sam? In the motor?
Traveling the international superstars that we are. Nah, I'm all right, mate. You're all right.
Yeah, all good. And Chris is back with us. Cheers for coming on, mate. Things all good?
Cheers for having me. Yeah, all good. Tomorrow's back in the England squad. I can't be more happy.
Yeah, let's just hope we see him, mate. Yeah, completely echo that. But we'll start on the breaking news. Obviously, this affects Newcastle fans massively, but there's a lot of talk that it could obviously affect how other clubs go now. But in fact, I will start with you, Chris, and then Sam, I'll go to you because I know you might have to shoot off, and then Lee. But what was your whole take on this? Because there's been a lot of talk of it for, I think, at least the last 12 months, definitely. I think there was a bid rejected last summer. But how massive do you think this is for Newcastle going forward?
Well, it is massive. It makes Newcastle the richest club in the world. It absolutely dwarfs Man City. For Newcastle and Newcastle fans, it's investment and it's great. But then, of course, look at all the headlines and everything. There is that morality side of things of, given the historic records of the Saudi Arabian government who effectively are, behind this takeover. I think there's also the football terms of it's the Premier League is, sanctioned legality of it. But, this is effectively like the Bank of England buying a football team. So, it's the public investment fund. So, if it's a hard one. It's a hard one to really wrap the head around, really. But from a football perspective, it puts Newcastle part of the super rich teams club. The Man Cities, your PSGs, your Man City, PSG, and Chelsea. It puts them in that sort of catalogue, and it'd be interesting to see what this means to the rest. And given other clubs' records in the transfer market, I wonder how financial fair play will be bent. So that'd be interesting to see. Yeah,
very good point on that. And Sam, just based on like what the expectation is now for Newcastle, obviously they've got the money in. There's all this talk of oil money, and should you be able to like buy your way to success? For me, I feel like when you look at City, they haven't reached the level they should based on the money they've spent. That's just my opinion, because Champions League is always the big fish. And, they've still not managed to get that. There's been seasons where they haven't won the league and other teams have overshone them. But do you think that it will be as good as what's expected of them? I know there's all this massive palaver. Oh, they're going to go and sign Mbappe. They're going to, there's that FIFA meme, which I think everyone's seen, where Salah's like in the team. There's Mbappe, there's Neymar. Is this realistic, or do you think it's perhaps too much expectations out of them? Do you think this really will change them and maybe become, I would say big six, but I guess it would be a big seven? But do you think that is what's going to happen for them? What's a realistic ambition for them in the next 3 years, should you say?
Well, I don't think it's going to be as instant as everyone's making it out to be. Let's be real. But when you get a significant investment as they are going to, of course it's going to change them. Let's be real. They're relegation for every season. They're battling it out and stuff. They were happy when they signed Joe Willett last year. So end of the day, let's look at it realistically. I think it's going to be a slow process. I mean, for me personally, I think it's exciting on a footballing term, even though that, to be fair, they probably are rivals at the moment. But I believe that looking at it purely on a football basis and not on, the human rights and all this and that everyone else is looking at, which is fair enough. You can have your own individual opinion on it. I think that it's an exciting time to be a Newcastle fan. It's an exciting time for the Premier League, let's be real. It's the best league in the world. This is just echoing that. And if we can get better players attracted to this league, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's a good point on the players as well. And Lee, from a Liverpool perspective, do you think Newcastle can become like up there as perhaps your rivals again? I mean, one day they did have the good, we're talking Shearer and Lauren Robert days, but what's your take on it all and how it can affect them?
I don't think it will be as easy as when Chelsea and then City first done it, just because it's their money's still around. A lot of the teams at the top all have big money now, so I don't think it's going to be as easy for them. I think it's going to be a long process.
Yeah,
if they want to buy their way up there, it's going to be harder to attract the players because obviously the bigger clubs are still there; they're not going anywhere. Yeah, I'm happy for them. They've obviously had 14 years of shit under Ashley. Everyone knows what a terrible owner he's been. Finally start to see the back of the Sports Direct mugs, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just good to see for them. I've always liked Newcastle. I'm even rocking the Newcastle colours today.
I just noticed that actually. I didn't know if that was a coincidence.
It's an unplanned coincidence, but yeah, I'm just happy to see it. I'm happy for the fans. I wouldn't read too much into where the money's coming from. The owners have to go through all these fit and proper owner tests nowadays, which is why the takeover took so long, from what I've heard. So I mean, if it was me personally and that was happening to my club and it passed all these tests, I wouldn't give a shit where the money's coming from.
Yeah,
I'd be happy that we've got a crappy owner at the door and we've got a load of money coming in, and it's just nothing but positives for them.
Yeah, agreed. And it'll be interesting to see how much longer Steve Bruce lasts as well. Like, there's all this talk Steve Bruce is a goner.
He's fucking gone now already. He's gone. See you later.
He won't be lasting.
Yeah, he's the fastest manager on FIFA.
But who comes in? Like, is Conte a realistic person?
I mean, usually you would say no, but when you've got that finance,
this is what I'm thinking. Like, money talks, doesn't it? And I think
really
all Conte's going to want is the money to spend. If he can spend money, he can't really complain because he can make them become the club that he needs, like, under him.
There's a lot of talk of Gerrard as well. I think he's been heavily linked. Which
I think they'll make a statement
though. The thing is though, like, if you look at Man City and look at Chelsea, there's always that sort of 1 year, 2 years hiatus where they didn't sign a world class player. They went and spent a lot of money. If you look at Chelsea, what was it? It was Joe Cole, Damien Duff, a very, very young Iron Robin. They were getting a lot of players in, and they were good players, and there were a lot of young, hungry players. There was no superstar. They brought a young guy from Marseille called Didier Drogba, and they made him a superstar. And I think
when they got Mourinho in, he was a bit of a
they got the young upstart Mourinho manager, from Porto, who just pulled it. So I think, I don't think there's going to be this big flood of Mbappe, Haaland, Conte. I think there will be that sort. I think, Gerrard could be a shout. If Newcastle were to throw that money at Gerrard, because also for Gerrard, if he wants to end up at Liverpool, Newcastle in the way is a good stepping stone. If he was going to Newcastle and build something there, then it's a good move before moving to Liverpool, because I think, Lee, from Liverpool's perspective, you want Gerrard in fresh off the Rangers. You almost want him to go get his go blood a bit more over in the Premier League.
It's true, but then we won't want to face off against him either. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell, won't it, on how quickly things do develop at Newcastle. But you look at Santiago Munez. I remember years ago they signed someone. And they were like, "Oh, he's the next." And I don't think of Almiron. In fact, it was. I think.
Boys, I'm bouncing out. Good to see you all. Take care.
Yeah, no, take it easy, mate. Enjoy it. Yeah, when Almiron came in, they said, "Oh, he's going to be the next Munez," and he's nowhere near lived up to the expectation. And now they've actually signed someone with the same name. And I think Chris is spot on with that. I think it will be a case of making a player into a superstar. I don't like money.
Are you comparing a player to the film Goal?
No. I'm just saying this is the Newcastle. when they signed Almiron, they expected highly of him. They were like, "Oh, he's going to be the next Santiago Muniz," and it was like, okay, but I feel like they put too much weight on people's shoulders too soon, and this is exactly what's going to happen with the ownership. They're going to expect such big things to happen. Like I said this morning, people are expecting the likes of even like Pogba. I wouldn't be surprised if they had Newcastle fans thinking they'll sign Pogba in a year. A realistic ambition is going to be Aaron Ramsey or someone like that, or I'm not sure, signing Lacazette on a free in January. People that they couldn't sign that they now potentially can, because they still have no Europe. They're still I'm going to say bottom of half of the table club. I'm not going to say relegation because I don't think they will be there, especially now. But it's not just
PSG, for example. When they start their first marquee signing was Javier Pastore when they got taken over by Qatar. Then they brought in then they was it 1 or 2 summers later, then they started investing in like sort of Ibra and Thiago Silva, who were were able to get on the cheap from Milan. So to be honest, I think the caliber of player you might see is someone like Gareth Bale, maybe.
Yeah,
because they actually Newcastle have the money to afford his wages and stuff.
But bloody hell, that.
Yeah, you look at City. You can even look at City. They started off with bringing Sven-Goran Eriksson in. Then they had Elano, Benjani, Robinho. They still had the likes of Richard Dunn and that at the back, scoring own goals for fun. So
Stephen Ireland, Sean White, and then you got Sean White Phillips from Chelsea.
Still took them a while to get up there, didn't it?
Yeah, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I think this is like a 5-year ambition for what people are expecting in the next 2 years. Really, like that. The first things foremost, they need to get back into the top 8 before they can even think about becoming a sort of Liverpool, Chelsea, United. It's going to be a long run.
It's just fun to speculate.
I think they need to survive this season as well. To be honest,
very true. I still wouldn't say that they're safe because they've already started off quite poor. They've not had luck with injuries. I get that, but.
And they can't bring a brand new squad in January because they won't have time to gel. So you're at this, they could be the richest club in the Championship next year.
Yeah,
luckily for them, there's a lot of clubs that have started very poorly this year.
Yeah, this is the thing. They're one of quite a few, aren't they? So they may bounce back. But yeah, like you said, in January, it won't all happen then. There's no way, and they're going to have players to get rid of as well. And I'm not being funny, but not many players are going to want to leave this club because it's the best time to be there. You've got money around them, and there's real ambition. But
they're going to want new contracts.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think they're in a position they can take hits on players as well now. Whereas before this takeover, they will try and recoup 30 million for Joelinton, which is never going to happen. But now they can sell Joelinton for 10 million and just wipe the 30 out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good name as well. He's another one that's a bit of a busted flush. Like, I don't really know what happened to him because I remember when he came in, it was like, oh, okay, and then maybe he's just been surrounded by other talent where he's not managed to gel or.
He was never a £40 million player. Even Hoffenheim were laughing when they sold him for 40 million.
Yeah. Let's move on because I think this is one where we will probably just come back to in a couple of months and see where they're at and see if anything's actually improved. It'll be, like you said, I think it's one to watch in January, definitely. I think all eyes will be on Newcastle. Let's talk about last week's games, United, Everton. Chris, I'm not sure if you managed to get around to watching it, but what did you make of this result and Everton's season so far?
It was... Oh, actually, I did watch the game, and I thought 1-1 was fair. Everton had chances. I don't know why Tom Davies is squaring it. He should just put his foot through it. If he takes that touch inside rather than outside, then he's got a one-on-one with De Gea. But no, he took it outside and then squared it to Yerry Mina. I think, Everton quite impressive to be honest. They're just silently getting it done under Rafa. And the thing is, we saw it at Liverpool with Rafa, we saw it in Newcastle. And we're seeing at Everton. Rafa just knows how to get the job done. He doesn't do it with at these low, the lower clubs compared to Liverpool. He doesn't do it with the sort of media fireworks he used to. But he can still get under Man United's skin, which is good.
Yeah, I think United as well. Like they'll be disappointed because obviously it was late on. But Andros Townsend again.
Can we just put this out there? Andros Townsend and Damari Gray, what signings? Andros Townsend was a free. Damari Gray was what, 1.5 million?
Bargains.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So as long as they keep it up, yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't have Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison. This was Salomon Rondon leading the line at Old Trafford, and that was a dreadful captain, by the way.
But it's quite interesting how those two, like, this just shows some gambles can pay off, because beginning of the season, I would have said they're the worst signings I've seen, but so far they're proving better than the majority. United spent 75 mil on Sancho, still waiting to score his first goal. Townsend is arguably I think he's got the best stats so far this season.
He's got 5 goals, 3 assists or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a joke.
But then going on the Sancho side of things, it goes back to my point, and to honest, I won't go into too much detail. But watching this Man United team for me is like watching Juventus the last 3 years. And I, that's what I said when Ronaldo first signed. It just changes the way that they play, and it just feels like we're not seeing enough from Bruno Fernandes and Greenwood and Sancho because of just the way that play has to go through that centre.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Ronaldo was come off the bench, didn't he? He didn't start that one, so.
No, 100%. I just meant in general, like, it's just that it becomes a focus point. Like, it was like Ronaldo's bench. Yeah.
For me, it's United's manager. He's just tactically inept.
Yeah.
They've got the players, just not the gaffer.
Oh, 100%.
Do you think it's another season then of United with just all the right things on the field, but still no success in terms of silverware? Yeah, this is another thing.
Well, I think they might have a chance in terms of the domestic cups. When it comes to win the league and a trophy in Europe, I can't see it.
Well, they're out the Carabao already.
Yeah, unless they get knocked into the Europa somehow.
Because they haven't had the best start in Champions League, have they? Really?
No, they haven't.
So I personally think if Antonio Conte is going to go anywhere, it'll be there. I honestly can see it. I think if United aren't at least by December in the sort of position where they're title fighting, I don't even think just Moyes. I think Ronaldo will sort of like have a bit like to say, because he's probably come in and said, "Look, I want some sort of because I'm guessing he wants to win. I'm guessing he'd like to win the Premier League again, or even just some sort of silverware with United. That's probably what he's sort of come back to do, and then one last hurrah, shall we say? But I'm not sure. I don't know how much I feel about Solskjaer, because, like you said, he's got all the right quality on the field, and he's just adding to it, like Fernandes, Ronaldo. Ronaldo wasn't even needed necessarily. They needed
a defensive midfielder.
I think
that's where they're lacking. If you saw the goal Everton scored, it all stems from Fred not being strong enough and losing out twice in the middle of the pitch.
Yeah,
Fred.
And big shout out to Decore, by the way. He's been phenomenal so far this season.
I mean, he succeeded at Watford, didn't he? And then everyone said it was sort of the one that got away when Everton got him for 20 mil. I know Arsenal fans were a bit gutted to not buy him, but yeah, he seems to be doing well. And he's another one with stats this season as well. And he's not that sort of player. I get I feel like he's more of a sort of workhorse than a racehorse. He was
at Watford, wasn't he? He was sort of a bit more attacking at Watford. Then last season he went a bit more defensive under Ancelotti. It seems Rafa's put him into more of a attacking sort of box to box role this season. He's paying rewards.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Burning Norwich because the game just doesn't deserve doesn't deserve my sort of conversation. But Chelsea winning again, top of the league. Lukaku isn't even on. I tell you what, I'm actually quite annoyed because I put Lukaku in my team two and a half weeks ago in my fantasy team, right? And I took Werner out. I made sure that I got enough so I could make that straight swap. Werner has got a stat in every single game. He's in the last 3 games of Chelsea now. I think 2 assists and a goal. What? Chris, do you think it can work them both? Because the way I see it, if you're singing all the right hymn sheets, then you stay on the team sheet. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's how do you play Werner and Lukaku together? Do you think he's now in a position where he's made his case and they're going to have to sort of find a way for them to mold together? Werner and Lukaku, I mean.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I think them two together can, are proven to be deadly in the sense of, yes, Lukaku isn't getting the stats and stuff, but it's that presence of having Lukaku up top, and it has actually allowed a lot of creative freedom, and it has taken pressure off Werner, which I think is now we're actually seeing Timo Werner now. I still don't think he's hit the heights of his Leipzig days where he was absolutely incredible, but he's getting on
like
the
28 goals or something for them, wasn't it? In his last season, yeah.
But then, it's just the way the Premier League is. The Premier League doesn't really play much unless you're playing a big team like Liverpool, Man United. I think there are no high defensive lines. Everyone, the smaller teams always sit deep. Whereas in Germany, everyone plays with pretty much a high line. So, it's easy for Werner to get in behind the back. But I think, very much it's a case of, I said it when Lukaku signed. I think the dream scenario is creating that Lukaku, Lautaro, Martinez partnership up top for Inter, and just replicating Martinez out and Werner in, and just trying to see how that works. And it's a tricky one. Like personally, I would expect a few more goals from Lukaku, but to be honest, I don't think Chelsea fans or Thomas Tuchel to a degree will complain because they're still trending the wins and they're top of the league.
Yeah, that's what I mean. As long as you got someone coming in with the form, you see, they got the most. I know we were going to talk about it at the end, but they had the most names included in the Ballon d'Or nominations. I think it was, if I remember rightly, Azpilicueta, N'Golo Kanté, obviously, Lukaku, and I think Mason Mount. I'm pretty sure that's the four.
Yeah, he was in.
I'm pretty sure that's right, but. Yeah, he's not going to complain because Mount hasn't even found his feet this season yet either. So once he gets going, it could really be a very long season for the rest of us if they keep this up. Because like you said, Lukaku's not scoring, Mount's not really in great form, and obviously they've got the other people around in other areas. But I think it's just going to be worse and worse and worse.
I mean, although bear in mind they did lose 2 games on the bounce before this one, so let's not get too carried away.
Yeah.
True, but I think that City game was a Pep masterclass.
Yeah, and in Juve.
Yeah,
and Juve was an Allegri masterclass because Allegri. So just sidetrack into Italy. What Allegri's done at Juve is he looked at the Chelsea game and he said, "We can't play possession football against Chelsea. What we need to do is just sit back and counter attack and use the likes of Chiesa to do that." And they caught sucker punch. Was it like 45, 50 seconds after kickoff in the second half? So I think it was just Thomas Tuchel got done in those 2 games by other managers just being a bit more tactically on the ball in that game.
Yeah, I think it is it's definitely Chelsea, City and Liverpool anyway. I'd probably put Chelsea and Liverpool over City at the moment. But speaking of, we'll go to that game and then I'll sort of touch on Arsenal and the other topics while we're just speaking of Pep. 2-2. Lee, I'll go to you, mate. I mean, got to be one of the best first halves I've seen in months of football. But what did you make of the game overall? Mo Salah's obviously got to be the main standout. But a lot of people were saying it's Salah, De Bruyne. A lot of people were saying, right, it's like that. I don't know why, because I feel like they're cut from a different cloth. But I think everyone just says, oh, it's either one of those two that I'm not going to say the best in the league, but are probably up there in the talents. But what was your sort of? Do you feel like it was a fair result late on in the end? Because it was back and forth, wasn't it?
If you look at the whole game, I would say it's a fair result. I would say first off, I think we started well. And then most of the first 15, 20 minutes, but then City just took over for the rest of the half. We were lucky to get in at half time at 0-0, to be honest. We were holding on a bit. And we've come out in the second half. It's been a different ball game. I think we deserved the goals. And it was just pure genius from both goals were genius from Mo Salah, to be honest. First one was the counter-attack where he skipped past, I think, was it Cancelo or was it Rodri, one of them, and he put Mane in. It was just brilliant. And yeah, I don't need to say any more on his second goal. I think we also got a little bit lucky that Milner didn't get sent off. It was definitely a second yellow card.
Yeah, good point. Good. I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Definitely, yeah. I don't agree with pundits often, but I think that it did deserve the slander that was given after the game. Poor decision.
I agree. But yeah, that goal was absolutely superb. I don't understand a lot of the slander Mo gets. There still seems to be large sections of people just don't want to like him. The stats speak for themselves. He's brilliant. Yeah, he does miss the odd opportunity, which he should bury. Maybe he's a little bit too selfish sometimes, but when he's scoring that many goals, getting that many assists, and I don't know what it is. It feels like
consistency is the best. Consistency,
he's actually stepped up this year.
Yeah, I think consistency, he's definitely up there, isn't he? Like, I've never seen a player as consistent as him in terms of back-to-back seasons, firing them in. And what I enjoyed as well was seeing him and Mane work together, because so many people slander that partnership, but you look at that first goal.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if Liverpool had won a major trophy this year, the league or the Champions League, then we'd be talking about Mo Salah when we talk about the Ballon d'Or in a bit.
Yeah. I mean,
was
he not? Is he in the list? Let me have a look.
Yeah, he's in the list. Yeah,
he has to be in the list. It'll be, it was a travesty he didn't win Player of the Month.
And obviously you talk about your De Bruyne and Salah conversations. I mean, I think it depends if you're talking about who's the best player at their very best, or who's the best player currently. So I think De Bruyne has not been there this season, whereas Mo Salah started on fire. So if you're talking about the best player in the league at the moment, it would be Salah.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think there's any.
I would argue in the world right now, personally. Current form. I mean,
that's hard to say because different leagues and things like that. You got Lewandowski.
This is the thing, though. Yeah, you can't compare. You can't compare what they're up against. Like German league and Premier League's different kettle of fish. But if you look at current form, he's currently in the best form out of most players. And yeah, I'd say Lewandowski and him, it's got to be between the two. Ronaldo, yeah, like Chris just touched on, with Player of the Month. I don't know how he. I get he's scored goals, but every single one of them, none of them have been out of this world, have they? They've been a tap in or something along them lines.
He's getting a lot of praise at the moment. This last week, Salah, and it's been nice to see, to be honest. And I just really, really hope we give him the wage he wants and he signs a new contract for another couple of years.
When does it actually run out? When does it? It can't be.
I think it's next season, end of next season.
I was going to say,
but I know the fans the fans are very worried about it. I know the owners are very strict on breaking their wage structure, but when you've got a player, you've got a superstar like that, I think you should be allowed to break it.
Yeah, pay him what he wants, man. You don't get anyone of that sort. A player of that sort of merit, you're not going to get again. Who do you replace him with?
From what I read, he just wants the wages that similar to players in his league, like De Bruyne. He wants 350 grand, like Kevin De Bruyne. Because there's a lot of players who are not as good as him, who earn a lot more than him. So I don't blame him for not wanting a higher wage.
Very true. I don't want to talk too much about Brighton Arsenal because I had a great day overall, but it was. I managed to break my phone. I was windswept. I was absolutely soaked. But yeah, I was just a bit disappointed with the overall game, really. My first away since I turned 18. I haven't been to an away game since I've actually been able to do it properly, But hard to sort of get under the team. The performance was a bit woeful. Arteta winning manager of the month. I know Paul mentioned it earlier, so I'll bring it up. I kind of am inclined to agree. I think the only reason he got it was due to the 3 wins out of 3. I think it's based on that only, and the fact that no other team won all 3 games in the month. Thomas Frank, Graham Potter, you could argue 2 of them. Other than that, there was no real competition. I think best way to put it is best of a bad bunch. If I'm being realistic, I think
then you haven't done a podcast since the 3-0, have you? So that was a huge win.
I'll touch on that as well. Yeah. I mean 3-1. It was a great game. Like, I was gutted. I went to the boxing the night before, so I didn't go to the game in the end. But I completely swallow all my words because I should have gone. The atmosphere in the pub alone was electric, and from what I could see at the ground, it just did not stop. Which is what you want to sort of get behind. And yeah, great performance against Tottenham. But I think other than that, I haven't really seen any convincing performances from Arsenal. I think that was the only real one. Like, we scored 3 in that game and we managed to double our goal tally. So that says a lot. But yeah, we need to just... I think Palace at home next is a great game to go into and sort of get back on the winning performance.
Patrick Vieira back at the Emirates.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think Palace are being really good, to be fair. I think
they're a tricky one, Palace. One game they're good, the next game they look weak as hell.
Against Leicester, they sort of done well. Like, Leicester were 2-0 up. They came back through. But Palace, I don't know. They're hot and cold. I never know what to make of them. They've got a good side. I think Zaha against Tommy is going to be quite interesting to see because he had a bit of a woeful performance against Brighton.
He did, yeah.
I think Cucurella, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Chris, you're one
I was very impressed with Brighton during that game. I think I was just sitting there thinking, if they had like 1 or 2 players who could actually finish, they would have won the game.
Yeah, this is my point. This is what I was going to go on to. If they had a better number 9, we lose that game all day. Ramsdale did have a brilliant performance, to be fair. I'll say again, he's still making me eat humble pie. But
it took you a while to... It didn't feel like until sort of some sub time on during the end of the game that you guys started to get into the game.
Yeah.
It felt like it was mainly Brighton dominating most of it and just firing shots over the bar.
Second half was chalk and cheese, but first half was all them. I didn't get in until 12 minutes into the game because my ticket was absolutely soaked in my wallet. So I had to run to the ticket office, literally, absolutely sprinted to the ticket office. It did not stop hammering it down. And then by the time I got in, it was 12 minutes in and they were all over us. And literally, as I'd got to my seat, it looked like they was about to score and I thought, oh, hell no. And then, the second half was when it all we started actually doing something. I think it was Pepe and Lacazette that came on and they sort of seemed to bring something new to the table. But Smith Rowe, there was the chance where he should have squared it. Things like that are what annoy me, is that the 2 sort of linchpins in our side are still quite young and an experienced player. You make the pass all day long and that's a goal if he does as well. But yeah, we need to be careful against Palace. Zaha against Tommy, I think that's where it's going to be, that's where it's sort of going to end up being the decider. If Tommy does well to sort of keep him at bay, then I think we'll do fine. But
I don't know, Palace have got a few tricks up their sleeve. They've got obviously Eze. Who's the new guy they got? Is it Gallagher?
Conor Gallagher.
He looks pretty lively.
And Usman Edouard seems to be doing well at the top.
Yeah,
he could cause problems. Like Ben White as well. He's another one that I don't know what to sort of make of Ben White sometimes. He does a good job against some areas, but that'll be a test. I
mean, yes, if Palace are going to play Benteke or one of the big boys,
we'll be the type of team to let him score.
He might struggle because it's been well documented about Ben White's struggle of winning aerial duels. It could be a bit of an undoing there.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the type of team to let Benteke score. I wouldn't be surprised if we win 3-1 and he's the idiot to score. We just make such clumsy decisions, especially in set pieces. But I'd like to think our defence has improved. And yeah, if Ramsdale keeps this up, I don't see a way back for Leno now. I really don't. Because I've always said if you're going to stabilise your team, at the back is where you keep it, keep stability. And that back 4 and him seem to have a real good relationship going. So I think Leno's in trouble. He won't mind, he's on a good wage, but I still like to think players like to play football and want to be playing football. It's a bit...
Definitely.
I think it's a bit of a sad situation. His situation's a bit like Lacazette for me, because Lacazette is not the best player in the world, but he's too good to be sitting on the bench. And I think Leno is way too good to be just sat there and a number 2. And especially when we haven't got the football to be given him, like, we're not in a position where we have like a lot of games for people to play in. Whereas Liverpool, if you've got a number 2, you can stretch them. You can stretch them both, really. Like, you've got Carabao Cup, obviously Champions League, you play the number 1. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how much we'll get for Leno if we sell him in January. I'd like to think a reasonable amount, but when someone hasn't played in the amount of time that he's probably not going to have, it's tricky situation.
I think it's have a decent value. He's not old, is he? So he's still got a lot of life in him. He's not got any high profile mistakes. He's no Loris Karius, is he? So.
Dan, you touched on games there. Do you think, from as an Arsenal fan perspective, and I mean this in a constructive way, you missing European football this year?
I'm glad we're not. I'm not going to say I'm glad we're not in it, but I'm glad we haven't got it to worry about. Obviously, I miss Thursday nights. That sounds so sad. I do miss the Thursday night watching and going up to the Emirates, especially. But in terms of the squad we got at the moment, we'd have needed to do a lot of work if we were going to be playing European football this year to get any success.
Funny how you've mentioned Thursday night and not Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, it's been a while since then, mate. It's been a while since then, but I don't know. I feel like it was a wake-up call when we lost to Villarreal. I feel like it was a sort of sign that we're not there yet. It was such an easy way into the final. I thought like we could have had Villarreal and then United. We know what Emery's capable of. Like we literally played under him 2 years ago, and I think it would have been the best moment to go and beat United in Europa League final, but didn't happen. And yeah, these things happen for a reason. And I feel like we needed too much work done to be fighting in any competition to that level this year. Smith Rowe and Saka, you take them two out of the team, and like we saw at the beginning of the season when we played Brentford, all it was 4 or 5 players out of our team, and we completely crumbled. And yeah, that just shows really that there's still lots to be done. This year, I think we will get European football. I think we'll come back, but we'll need to get at least another centre midfielder. I think that will happen in January because we've got AFCON. So that will take 2 players out at least, Partey and El Neni, and then Xhaka. Don't know how fit he's going to be. He will have only just come back from injury. So too much to do too soon. And a striker as well. Lacazette's on his way out. I expect that to be done by the beginning of January, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got something on the table now, because he's too, like I said, I think even in the Brighton game when he came on, he showed what more he can do than the likes of the Aubameyang. So someone will be snapping him up. So we need to replace urgently. But yeah, missing it, but it's a bit of a bittersweet. I'm probably going to get slandered for that, but it's just the truth. I don't think we'd have really had I've not watched too much Europa League this year. I'm kind of enjoying like my break from Thursday night, having to watch football on Thursday nights. Obviously, got the misses and the little one, but I don't believe we'd have had any better off than what we have in the previous years. So
it's good for you to be able to just focus on the domestic competitions as well.
Yeah, this is another thing. Like FA Cup, who knows? We might go and like we did dreadful in that last season. We lost to bloody Southampton, I think it was. So, we can hopefully start taking that seriously again. But I want to touch on Brentford before we wrap up. There's been other results. Obviously, Tottenham done one. I don't want to look like I'm being biased to our teams, but some of these games just have no interest in. Tottenham 2, Villa 1. Anything you boys want to add to that?
Good result for Tottenham.
Yeah. They needed it, didn't they? Must win. Son's just really stepping up, isn't he? While Kane's missing. What is it they were saying that
he always has done since he's been there, Son. Very underrated. I'm very surprised that like City have went in for Grealish, and so I would have preferred. I don't understand why they go for someone like Son. I think he's a much better player.
Yeah, that's one thing I knew I didn't touch on something. The City game, Jack Grealish again proven to be a bloody absolute. I'm not going to say disappointment, but the problem is when you spend 100 million on a player, you're always going to have that expectation of you. And at the moment, he don't even look 50. So I don't know. I think they've made a massive.
I think with City, when you spend 100 million, any other club spends 100 million, they build their team around them. But City basically bought a squad player for 100 million. If Arsenal were tomorrow to go spend 100 million, then you'd expect them to. Do you know what? This is our marquee signing. This is someone that we're going to build the team around and stuff like that. But City was just, it's a clog into our rotation. It gives us a plan B or E compared to what we had last year.
Yeah, like they've got good players. Foden, look at Foden out wide.
Oh, he was fantastic. He made Milner look every single one of his 36 years, whatever it is. But yeah, with Grealish, it's a bit like when Coutinho went to Barcelona and Klopp came out and said, "Look, if he stays here, we'll build a statue of him. He'll be a legend. If he goes to Barcelona, he'll just be another player." That's a bit like Grealish. If he stayed at Villa, club legend for life. Goes to City, he's just another cog.
Yeah.
Isn't Coutinho like top of Newcastle's shopping list, or what the papers are saying? Because Barca still want him out.
Yeah. I mean,
he will
that's
be.
that's the kind of signing I suppose they would look to make early on, isn't it?
It's like what you said with Bale, isn't it? Coutinho, Bale, players like of that sort of like
kind of big names throughout history, but not really in top form at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think going back to Tottenham, I know a lot of people saying, "Where's Harry Kane? He's gone missing in the derby." But I don't worry about him. When Son's on form, that's all Tottenham need. He's seriously different level. I say it every year. I say it every season. I hate how good he is. Brentford again as well. I do want to touch on this because it's a great result, but they've just been firing. I know we touched on Thomas Frank before. Do you think they can keep this up, Chris? Because obviously they've. I think the only time they've lost is against Brighton. Actually, funny enough, so I'll take the Brighton draw with a pinch of salt. But I think like out of the games where you sort of hit and miss, they're getting like West Ham away. I find it one of the worst games, to be honest. I hate playing them at home or away. In fact, especially currently with their form. But what's your thoughts on them? Like on where they can perhaps finish, because they've started off well, but there's still a big mountain to climb. Do you think that it is just the beginning, or they're going to have a sort of reality check coming?
Well, they better keep it up now. I've just moved right next to their stadium. It literally is like 5 minutes down the road. I can during the Brentford Liverpool game, I could actually hear it outside my balcony, and it was like I was getting surround sound. I was hearing the chants and the action outside before I was watching it on TV. It was quite surreal.
Cracking game that as well.
It was a great game. Yeah. But I think the thing with Brentford is it's given me Swansea vibes. 2011 when they came up, and you've got to applaud teams that just give the Premier League a go. Like they don't keep to their philosophy of football. They just play the way that they need to play, and actually try and have a go at these teams. I think too many teams come up and go, our ethos is X. We're going to carry on playing this way. But actually, Brentford are very much trying to change their team and actually, take on take on West Ham, take on Liverpool, And yeah, I said it's very, very Swansea vibes. But I think, can they keep it up? I would like them to keep it up, but I think there is that time where it just fizzles out to be to mid-table mediocrity, which I think is Brentford will take. If survival was always the top priority for them. So if they finish 10th, 11th, 12th. It's a good result, because I think there is that time when the other teams around them, like your Arsenal, Tottenham, whatnot, and the guys at the top just start to churn the results around January, February. That's when it really starts hitting the business end, and that's when teams start getting runs together and start flying up the league. So I don't think it's I think 10th, 11th, 12th I think is a good season for Brentford, and what a team they've got. The challenge they're going to have is keeping hold of some of their players as well. Like, even Tony, he's going to get a lot of interest in the summer. Their mission after that is keep hold of him.
Yeah, definitely. And he's not even been providing goals, but he's just doing so much else. Got so much else in his locker. Cheers for that, Paul. Hope you enjoyed the game, mate. We will see if Kane wakes up for that. I'll be interested to see how he actually plays for England. Maybe this is. I think if anyone needs an international break, it's him. Get the goals back in and running. And Andorra and Hungary. I think I'd like to think they are good, oppositions that you can go and get lots of goals.
If David Nugent can score against Andorra, Harry Kane can.
Is that who he scored against?
Yeah, David Nugent's one goal, 1 yard out against Andorra. It's the one where he stops in the line and he just smacks it in.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But yeah, I mean, at least you're not going Andorra. Bloody hell. The scenes yesterday, absolutely ridiculous. What cracked me up as well was that the Sky Sports news guy was just like, oh, hang on, I've just found out about this. And it's like, what? You couldn't see the blazing fire right in front of you. It was, I don't know.
Sources telling me there's a massive fire at the stadium. Yeah, mate, it's right behind you.
Literally, like you'd think
I'm
you'd
getting
feel the blaze.
Firefighters are on site and the stadium will be closed. Okay, so that's basically what's happened.
Definitely. But before we wrap up, we've spoke of Salah, De Bruyne briefly and stuff like that. But I want to get 3 names from you each, and then I'll sort of put my 2 pence in. So 30 names have been added. So this is obviously there's a lot more than this to come. Like half of these players will go. Even Phil Foden in there, who we've spoke of. But Lee, I'll go to you first, mate. Who would you like to see as the sort of top 3 out of these? I'm surprised.
Who I would like, or who do I think is going to be in there?
I'll tell you what. I'll get both from you. So, who do you think is going to be in there, and who would you prefer? Who would you realistically want?
I think it's really. I think it's actually quite tough this year because I don't think there's actually feel like there's been real standouts. But if I was, I think Jorginho is going to be in there. You know, won the Euros and the Champions League. I think based on that basis, and obviously everyone's been talking about it. He's going to be in there, so I think he's going to be in the top 3. Which I mean, he's a good player. Wouldn't put him in my top 3 personally. Yeah, I think he'll be top 3. Jorginho. I would go Lewandowski, and Messi. Can't really leave Messi out. I think they would be the top 3 for me.
Yeah, Messi had a good last.
I mean, that's what I think will be.
I'm exactly the same as Lee in my thoughts. You know, I'd probably go, if I was to actually order them, I'd go Messi top, Lewandowski, then Jorginho.
Messi had a good last season at Barca as well, didn't he? So you can't put that aside. It was a good sort of bow out.
He has a good season every season.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anyone there that I'm actually really. I know there was some names yesterday. I was just like reading and listening to discussions, but obviously Sterling's in there. I'm just going to base that off of. I'm guessing that's off of his Euros performance. I wouldn't have expected to see him otherwise.
To be honest, if you look through that list, it's just a lot of it is Euros people.
Euros and Champions League.
Champions League. You got
Gerard Moreno. There you go. Yeah, he wouldn't.
Europa League. Yeah.
Europa League, and I'm trying to think of another.
I was surprised Modric is in there.
Yeah, I've not heard too much about him really.
Madrid were quite poor last year.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I don't want to see Jorginho in there, but I agree based on the fact that he did have a really good Euros campaign, and he obviously won the Champions League with Chelsea.
I would like to see Kante in there. I'm not gonna lie, he's everyone's favourite footballer. On
and off the field, though, isn't he? This is the thing. He's loved on and off the field. Like I admire the guy. I think he's brilliant. But
wasn't he man of match in both semi-finals and the final as well for the Champions League? That is just it's just incredible. Like the 3 biggest games of club football theoretically, and he's man of the match for all 3.
Brilliant to see Mahrez in there. I think he had a great season for City. And he's actually doing well this season as well. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, other than that, Azpilicueta, that's a weird one. Is that just based on his performances? I can't say I watched too much of Chelsea to see if he's a standout, but I just see him there at the top of the list. Do you know too much about his performance last seson, Chris?
He's just reliable.
He was reliable and solid, and captain of Chelsea. I think this is the thing with I try not to take the Ballon d'Or 30 quite so seriously in the sense of
because this would be cutting massively, wouldn't it?
Yeah. You just read through that list, and it is literally just it's Champions League and international tournament over the summer sort of list. The likes of Lautaro Martinez won Serie A and won the Copa America. Nico Barella won the Euros and won Serie A. So the interesting one to us in there is Neymar. Because actually,
I've only just noticed him. Yeah, above Pedri. Jesus,
even Pedri is a bold shout. I mean, it's his first year. He's kind of burst onto the scene, isn't he?
I think Pedri might win young player because actually there is the young player one behind that. But then again, I think that's between Haaland. I don't even know Haaland still qualifies. I have to double check. But no, I think
it does. I think Dennis Yuri tweeted it the other day. It's like Saka, Greenwood.
I think
Pedri.
I think so Pedri's been nominated for both.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
But it's a bit. I think previously, like Trent was nominated for both a year or 2 ago.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to when the official the official listing comes out. And yeah, I think Messi, Lewandowski, and Jorginho is probably the realistic three. Lukaku, I mean, yeah, he had an incredible time at Inter, didn't he? And then it's gonna be. I think it's a tough one this year. I really do. I don't think there's too many standouts, but I think that's the problem. That it's just sort of the fact that there's quite a few names you could put together in one.
What about omissions? Just people you thought might be in there. Is there anyone?
I kicked on a rumor at that list, but that's just personal reasons.
Who?
I kicked on a rumor at that list, but that's just personal reasons.
Oh yeah.
He did. He won the Euros Player of the Year, didn't he? I think.
I don't think there's anyone in there that there's not. I wouldn't say there's many names in there that shouldn't be. I think Modric was a good shout from you, Lee, and Neymar.
I think usually there's a few Liverpool boys in there. To be fair, like Van Dijk and that, but obviously he was injured. Trent and Thiago.
I think if I'm looking at Premier League players, they've probably got that spot on.
Can't believe they ain't got Andy Robertson in there. Outrageous.
Yeah, he saved your skins at the end of the season, didn't he? Literally, I think top four was majority him because he didn't have much else strength wise in the back four either. But
I think every game.
Yeah, I think they've got that pretty much spot on. Anyway, we'll leave it there, boys. Unless there's anything else you two want to touch on. Thanks for jumping on this fine morning. Anyone, and that's been Kane should not be in. See, I think that's just coming from an Arsenal fan because he did score. How many goals did he end up getting in the season? Over 20 or over 20 last season, if I remember correct. Because I remember when we were
top
doing
scorer and assister.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Because this was the season that him and Son had their absolute dynamite season together, wasn't it? So yeah, I don't think Kane
he bagged a few in the Euros, didn't he? So
yeah, and in the Euros he was one away from the Golden Boot. So as much as I'd like to agree with you, I can't. But yeah, smash the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and make sure you have a good weekend, boys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.